Hi everyone, I'm Bridget Froding and I will be discussing the minority rights of the Roma, Gypsy, or travelers in Europe. So who are the Roma? The Roma is an ethnic group of people who are originally from northern India, but now mainly live in countries in Europe. They are commonly known as Gypsies today because that is what they were referred to in the 16th century as a result of being mistakenly identified as being from Egypt. They are the largest minority population in Europe, and it is important to mention that many Roma people do not like the term gypsy because it has a negative connotation. Additionally, the Roma are known for their nomadic behavior, where they tend to migrate seasonally by following routes that have been established for years and discount the borders set in place nationally. Migrating became a way of life for the Roma because they initially had to move from India due to persecution. They were also one of the primary minority groups that are persecuted during the Holocaust because, similar to Jewish people, they were thought to be inferior to Christians and thereby had genes that Adolf Hitler did not want to be passed on. So essentially, the Roma people are experiencing a human rights crisis. They are living poor lives compared to other Europeans due to their history of discrimination and persecution. Examples of how the Roma are not equal to others include having lower incomes, poor health, houses poor in quality, lower literacy rates, and higher levels of unemployment. The issues that the Roma people face are essentially a domino effect. What I mean by this is that since the Roma cannot afford decent houses, they resort to living in isolated slums, which then causes illnesses and diseases to spread throughout the community. Roma people also do not receive a quality education because they attend segregated schools, which then causes them to be disadvantaged later in life when they're applying to jobs because they'll be looked down upon. Being the subject of such discrimination causes numerous negative effects to the Roma people. Examples of the effects of discrimination are that the life expectancy for Roma people living in Central and Eastern Europe is 10 years shorter than the rest of the population. The infant mortality rates for the Roma's children is 2 times higher than other people living in the countries of Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. 55% of Roma people's homes in southeastern Europe are not attached to a sewer system, and they have higher rates of illiteracy. The organization I am going to discuss is a European Roma Rights Center, also known as the ERRC. This group is classified as a human rights organization, and it was founded in the mid-1990s, and its headquarters is located in Brussels, Belgium. The ERRC was established following a victory of a case of a Romani man who was the subject of police brutality in Bulgaria. A fact that I found interesting and worth mentioning is that it was established by a group of activists who were motivated by the victories of the NAACP during the civil rights movement for African Americans in the United States in the 20th century. The members of the ERRC are Roma-led, where in 2016, the organization appointed a Romani board chair and Romani president. Most of the members are Romani also. The group's main mission is fighting discrimination against the Roma people in Europe. So you may be wondering what exactly the ERRC does to help the Roma people. The organization defines its role as a human rights organization with 3 categories. The first one is called strategic litigation. For the ERRC, strategic litigation is becoming involved in legal cases, whether domestic or international, where a Roma individual is being discriminated against, where he or she is not having the same rights as the rest of the population. The second category is advocacy and research. In the words of the organization, we provide reliable data on the human rights situation of Roma in the form of reports, submissions, and articles to inform international bodies and committees, as well as our own litigation work. The third category is news. Essentially, the ERRC takes it upon itself to publish factual news stories about human rights violations against the Roma people because these are stories that are often not told by the mainstream media. Now I will discuss some progress made by the ERRC. Their first victory was during the same year that the organization was founded, 1996. It was when the Czech Constitutional Court ruled in favor of 7 Roma people who fought for the right of their case concerning forced eviction and deportation be heard before a judge. 8 years later, in 2004, there was a legal battle called ERRC versus Immigration Officer at Prague Airport. This case was about the United Kingdom sending border guards to the Prague airport who racially profiled Romani people by not permitting them to board flights to the UK. This case was a victory for the ERRC because the court ruled in their favor, declaring that Article 33 of the Convention relating to the status of refugees was violated. This article states, "No contracting state shall expel or return a refugee in any manner whatsoever to the frontiers of territories where his life or freedom would be threatened on account of his race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion." The following year, in 2005, 2 more cases were victorious for the ERRC. The first was when the Grand Chambers of the European Court of Human Rights condemned police brutality against Romani people as a result of 2 men being killed by Bulgarian police officers. The second case was called Moldovan and Others versus Romania, and it was concerned with members of the Romanian police being complicit in mob killings toward the Roma people. In 2007, the ERRC won the Max van der Stoel Prize, which is when €50,000 is given to a person, group, or organization for their achievements in helping national minorities. Another important case that the ERRC was involved in is DH and Others versus Czech Republic. This case is known as Europe's Brown versus Board of Education because it is about the segregation of Romani children in schools. This case resulted in the Czech Republic being condemned for claiming that Romani children had mental disabilities that required them to be segregated from other children. Most important, Roma children were rightfully integrated into schools with other European children. The ERRC continues to fight against segregation in schools. In 2012, the ERRC won the Stockholm Human Rights Prize, which is known for being very prestigious. The organization won this award because of its outstanding success in fighting for Roma people's rights. Finally, in 2018, the ERRC won another human rights award called the Raoul Wallenberg Prize. So there are some existing challenges for the Roma people. Although organizations like the ECCR have made some great strides in equality for Roma people, there is still much more work to be done until we can call them equal. The 3 main areas of concern are racist attacks, segregated education, and forced evictions. In addition to these concerns, and something I have not mentioned yet, is the fact that Roma women have been subjected to more discrimination and violence than Roma men. With gender inequality existing everywhere, it is no surprise that Roma women face more discrimination than their male counterparts. However, in the 1970s and 80s, Romani women living in the Czech Republic and Slovakia were targets of forced sterilization. What makes this even worse is the fact that the Czech Republic has apologized for doing this, but neglected to provide compensation for the victims. Slovakia should also be held accountable for their actions, because its government is failing to look into the criminal offense of illegal sterilization. So ultimately, I think the ECCR has been very beneficial to the Roma people, and it is evident that they work hard in order to achieve equal status for this ethnic group. The ECCR is well known in the world of human rights because of their constant fighting, and it is clear that their efforts are appreciated because of the awards they have received. Since it has only been around since 1996 and is targeted to a select demographic, it is understandable that the organization is not known to the average individual, but if it continues to progress by getting involved in legal cases, I have no doubt that the organization will go down in history as being the organization that saved the Roma people from relentless discrimination. With that said, I have some new ideas for furthering the rights of the Roma people. One idea I have is to create housing that is funded by the government for Roma people who need it. The homes would need to have basic human necessities, such as electricity and plumbing. This would hopefully result in fewer Roma people living in poverty in low-quality houses. Creating housing would also lead to fewer health-related illnesses in the Roma people because they would not be living in filth. Housing would also cause other people to not view the Roma as inferior citizens. This is a crucial step in equality for the Roma because the right to adequate housing for every citizen is something that is being ignored across Europe for these people. Another idea I have relates to the financial issue faced by nonprofit organizations such as the ECCR that try to help the Roma. Before being assigned this topic, I was completely unaware of the countless acts of discrimination and racism toward the Roma population. Since I am sure I'm not the only one who did not know about this human rights issue, I think there needs to be a way for the word to get out to the rest of the world. Doing this may be challenging, but I think the best way to go about this is by creating some type of multimedia content, such as a commercial or a documentary, that is either aired on TV or sold to a popular streaming platform such as Netflix. Documentaries have become increasingly popular within the last few years, thus I think one about the Roma people could be very beneficial and a call to action. Doing this would hopefully cause more people to become aware of what has been happening to the Roma people for years, and in turn cause more donations to be made to nonprofit organizations so they can continue the fight.